In the last lesson, we covered film, novels, and stage plays, and how each medium approaches storytelling a little differently. In this lesson, we're going to cover a few more mediums and how even if they don't always follow structure perfectly, they still harness the power of these concepts to boost their stories. Let's start out with television. Television often comes in one of two forms: a sitcom-style show like Seinfeld or The Simpsons, or a series or limited series like Maid or The Queen's Gambit. And both approach story structure a little differently. In sitcom-style shows, there is usually not much change from episode to episode, and though there may be some storylines that span multiple episodes or seasons, most storylines will last one specific episode. This is the sit or situation in sitcom or situation comedy. Because of this, episodes will usually feature one or more protags who experience a catalyst and go after an episodic goal. Act 2 will vary wildly in structure. There usually isn't an inner gateway since the characters mostly stay the same from episode to episode, and then there's usually a story climax. So, for sitcoms, imagine USL's Act 1 and 3, but remove the structure from Act 2. A series, on the other hand, comes in one of two forms. Some may have many seasons, while others are limited to only one. Structure-wise, imagine the first season as the first story, and following seasons as the sequels, as if each one were their own book or movie. This is usually how structure is approached. Across the season, a protag may have one specific macro goal they are heading toward, and the general feeling of the season will follow the up, down, up of a typical structure model. You can see this in The Bear, as episode 7 is the moment of peril episode that sends everything to rock bottom before rising up to a story climax in episode 8. Next, let's look at video games. Depending on the game, there may be an overarching story that leads the player through the game. You can see this in the Mario games, as Mario is almost always sent to rescue Princess Peach, which would be the protag's goal. Though there may not always be a clear structure to the story, video games can use the elements we've talked about to make the game feel more story-like. You can see this in Super Mario Odyssey, especially looking at the map. There is a New Donk City Festival right in the middle, the event we'd expect from a midpoint. We point there through the uphill climb, as we are supposed to head straight there from Wooded or Lake Kingdom before encountering Antag Bowser on the way, which is a clear moment of danger. We also get a moment of peril as Bowser destroys Mario's ship with a dragon and Mario falls to the ruined kingdom. However, Mario fixes his ship in the inner gateway, heads to confront Bowser in Bowser's kingdom during the final plan, and finally faces off against Bowser on the moon in the story climax. Another great example of a story harnessing elements of structure is Bo Burnham's comedy special Inside. The whole piece follows the up, down, up feel of traditional structure with fun songs like White Woman's Instagram coming early and dark songs like Welcome to the Internet coming later. There is a clear midpoint as Burnham turns 30 right in the middle of the piece. There is a clear goal as Burnham is trying to make a comedy special, and one of our favorite examples is the catalyst. As mentioned, the catalyst is something that happens to the protag. So guess what happens in the second song comedy? Burnham is visited by an ethereal voice telling him to heal the world through comedy, one of the only times Burnham himself isn't the one singing. This emphasizes the catalyst as something coming from without. So even in something like a musical comedy special, story structure can help make the whole piece feel more cohesive and more like a story. Finally, as more content shifts online, there are content creators adopting story structure techniques as well. The people at the YouTube channel Corridor Digital are masters of this, who you may know from their series VFX Artists React. Even small one-off videos like this one, where protag Ren decides to attach a 360 camera to a crossbow arrow, follow structure almost perfectly. There is a clear goal, a clear hesitation as Ren is warned, a clear testing phase with a montage as he shoots arrows through food, a clear moment of peril as the strongest arrow snaps and he sits down hopelessly in his rock bottom, an inner gateway as he realizes the solution, and then a story climax filled with epic shots of a crossbow camera. It's a short video, and yet it still tells a full story with every step in a quarter of the time a movie does. Hopefully, these examples have inspired you to see how story structure can be used in any medium. Whether it's the general rhythm, key moments, or the entire 15 steps, stories that harness the power of structure can become way more impactful than those that don't. Because remember, at its core, story structure is just a collection of the best storytelling tips. So when stories follow structure, they are actually just following good writing. That brings us to the end of this mini course. You should now understand the 3 core elements, how to flesh them out into a story, and how to connect them to any type of idea you might have. Plus, you've learned how you can use them to fix your first draft and how storytelling differs across mediums. And in the final section of this mega course, we're going to finish things off by touching on some other concepts that are a little too complicated to cover in depth, but will still be helpful in your story structure journey.